Welcome back to another video. Today you're thinking about moving to Chicago in 2023. You're trying to figure out what neighborhoods that you want to live in or what's the best neighborhood in all of Chicago. Well, this is up there. It may be top 5 in my opinion, probably top 3. That's a 2. Probably top 3 in all of Chicago, which is the neighborhood of Lakeview. So if you've been listening to this channel, you know I love the Lincoln Park neighborhood of Chicago. It's where I live, it's where I work. Well, the neighborhood just north that borders Lincoln Park is the beautiful neighborhood of Lakeview. So today we're gonna be breaking down 5 pros and 5 cons of living in Lakeview in 2023. Buckle up, let's get on into today's video. So before we get into some history about Lakeview, it's actually important to know that Lakeview is the 2nd largest by population neighborhood in all of Chicago. So that stat alone tells a lot about the neighborhood of Lakeview and why so many residents decide to call Lakeview home. Lakeview is known for its lively atmosphere and specifically for its incredible location called Lakeview, which obviously indicates and gives a little bit of a hint to where it's located, right next to the beautiful body of water, Lake Michigan. Lakeview has a fascinating history that dates back to as early as the mid-19th century. Originally a sparsely populated area with farmland and small settlements, Lakeview witnessed rapid growth in the 1870s when Chicago started to really expand. Dating back to 1871 when the Great Chicago Fire happened, a lot of residents of Chicago relocated to Lakeview so that they could start rebuilding their lives. Over the years, Lakeview transformed into a bustling neighborhood with a diverse population and a very strong commercial setting. In the early 20th century, one of the most common things that people know about Lakeview was actually created, which is Wrigley Field, the iconic home of the Chicago Cubs. This became a global attraction for sports enthusiasts across the world. Fast forward to today, Lakeview has become a vibrant hub, offering a unique blend of history, culture, and modern amenities. So now that we've gotten through the history of Chicago, I want to go ahead and get into the thick of this video, which is talking about the 5 pros and the 5 cons of living in Lakeview, Chicago. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Jordan Pyle. I'm your go-to Chicago real estate agent. My team and I have been servicing the city of Chicago for the last 10 years, and every single day we get texts, we get emails, we get people reaching out on our Calendly link that you'll see down in the description, talking about wanting our help, helping them navigate the real estate market here in Chicago. So we'd be absolutely honored to help you in your real estate goals. So if you have any questions whatsoever, you're just starting the process, or maybe you're 9 days away from wanting to buy a home, or you're 90 days, well, we got you covered. So feel free to reach out at the number on the screen, and a team member or myself will get in touch with you within 24 hours. Lastly, feel free to check out all the free resources down in the description. And without further ado, let's get on into today's video. And very last thing, do us a favor, comment, like, subscribe, and definitely turn on the notifications so that you can be the first to know about all the happenings in Chicago.
Okay. All right, now that we got the intro out of the way, I wanted to just give you a quick little breakdown of the parameters of Lakeview here in Chicago. So I have this zoomed in right now. I'm going to zoom it out just a little bit so you can get the full scope of kind of where we're at with everything. So if you look here, I don't know why the words aren't popping up, but this is essentially the city center of Chicago. So this is Navy Pier that's sticking out here. This is what we would like to consider the loop. So if you were to go back in now to, here we go, to Lakeview, I want to show you the parameters of Lakeview. So the parameters, as you can see outlined here, you have Diversity Parkway on the south. If I can draw a straight line. So anything south of that, that's actually the Lincoln Park area. As you can see, this is where I live. I'm actually kind of in West Lakeview area, kind of in this area over here. That's where I live. I work kind of in this area. On the east side, so you have the Diversity Parkway on the south. On the east side, you have the lake. On the north side, you have Irving Park right here, and then you have Montrose up at the top. So there's a little cut in here around the park. And then on the very west side, this is what's called Ravenswood Avenue. So that is kind of the general area. So within Lakeview, you have what's considered Boys Town, which is kind of this far bottom right pocket. Right here is a very popular area. For a lot of people, it's probably the most expensive area. It's because you have close proximity to the lake, and there's a lot of different attractions here in this area. One of those being just north of that, you have Wrigley Field. So Wrigley Field right here, the home of the Cubs. Let me just click off of that real quick. Wrigley is right here in the middle. Let me just bring this back into picture so you can see Wrigley here. Over here on the west, more on the western side, I believe it is, yeah, right here. roughly, is Southport. So you have what's called Southport Corridor, or you can see the Southport metro stop right here, or the train line. And so basically this whole area here is Southport Corridor, which is a beautiful area in Chicago, ton of great attractions. And the last thing I want to point out, just while we're on the map here, is are the different train lines. So you can see here this Sheridan, if you kind of look at the top part of the screen, this train line, as I'm going to draw, runs all the way down. That goes straight south, right? So as far south as you need to go, take that into the loop. You also have this street, in terms of not public transportation, unless it's bus, but this street here, Clark, runs you all the way down, can get onto Lakeshore Drive right here. You also have this train line running through, which you can see the Paulina stop is right there. Popular stop is the Southport stop, as we just went past, and that circles and joins in here. And then another kind of through street in terms of accessibility is Lincoln Avenue. So this kind of cuts across and then jets down south towards the actual city center. A couple areas I want to point out that I just love here. First off, you have your Jewel Osco on the west side. That's your grocery store. You have another Jewel Osco right here. You have a Trader Joe's right there. You also have a Trader Joe's. It's not showing up on this map here, but it's kind of like right here. Then you have this Wellington stop. You have a Petco for all you pet lovers out there. You have Midwest Wellness Advocate. So you have some different hospital systems. And what else could I show you here? Oh, you have Sidney Maravitt's golf course. So for local golf, it's not the best golf, but for local golf in the city, this is a great place. You also have the driving range, actually just, it kind of borders. It's actually right here on the, let me just take some of this away. The driving range is actually right in this area. So you have a driving range here at Diversity Harbor. You also have the Lincoln Park Conservatory. And then also, I know it's not in Lakeview per se, but you have Lincoln Park just south. So you can see this is the northern line of Lakeview, or the southern line. So everything south of that is very walkable to Lincoln Park itself, which is this massive green space right here. North Avenue Beach, great place to watch the Air and Water Show, Chicago History Museum. You have Second City, which is Comedy Club. All of that, even though these over here are not in Lakeview, they're pretty close proximity to some of the things that you may want to do. And if we go back up into here, into the Southport Corridor a little bit, so you can see here is Southport. You have some really popular places such as Crosby's Kitchen right here. You have Anthropology for some shopping, Southport Cafe and Grocery, really good pizza spot called, very underrated by the way, D'Agostino's Pizza. You got some sushi, another really good spot, Coal Fire Pizza, and that gas station as I talked about, just to name a few. And then over here, just by Wrigley, the last thing I want to point out, you can see this whole area is Wrigley. You have some fun spots here. You have Wrigleyville Dog. So if you're looking for a classic Chicago dog, there you go. You have Small Cheval, which is a spinoff by a very popular burger place here in Chicago called Au Cheval. And the last thing I want, Slugger's world-class sports bar, really famous spot there. And then you have what I like to say is a really, really cool, underlooked opportunity. If you get the chance to ever go to a Wrigley rooftop, you can see right here, it says Wrigley Rooftops. So all these buildings, you can kind of see them in the description. There's all separate buildings. All of these have rooftop decks that actually are adjacent to the field. So if you want to go and catch a game and you want to do it in an upscale way, this is a really, really fun opportunity to go and hang out here and watch the game. So that's all I wanted to point out to you here in terms of Lakeview, just to kind of give you the general parameters, but a lot to do, which makes it, well, it's one of the most popular, and I think the second largest by population, the second largest density in the city of Chicago in terms of neighborhoods. So without further ado, let's jump back into the other video.
All right, we're back into the video now that I showed you some of the parameters of Lakeview, some of the different attractions within the actual neighborhood of Lakeview. So now we're gonna dive deep into the 5 pros before we get to the cons, because why are we gonna talk about all the things that people don't like about Lakeview when we could talk about all that it has to offer? First up on the list is it has a vibrant lifestyle. Lakeview offers a bustling and vibrant lifestyle with an abundance of bars, restaurants, and entertainment options. From trendy cafes to acclaimed restaurants, you're never gonna run out of places to explore and to enjoy a delicious meal. Of course, you have Wrigley Field, you have a music box, as well as Belmont Harbor, and that's what makes it such an inviting and vibrant lifestyle if you choose to call Lakeview home. So the second pro on the list for Lakeview is it is a sports enthusiast haven. So within Lakeview, in the larger neighborhood itself, you have a micro neighborhood known as Wrigleyville. Wrigleyville, as the name suggests, is the home of the Chicago Cubs, and Wrigley Field, where you can catch all the Major League Baseball games or any concerts or any popular attractions that come to town. They often use Wrigley Field as the place for those. So just a couple weeks ago, we actually had Morgan Wallen in town, and as you can imagine, this area was absolutely bumping because everyone is a Morgan fan, especially in Chicago summers when country music is a hit. All right, the third pro about living in Chicago is close proximity to the Lakefront Trail and Lake Michigan in general. So as the name suggests, Lakeview, it is close proximity to all of the things that you can do and take advantage of on the lakefront. So whether you are actually waking up in your condo or your apartment and just looking out over the lake with your lake view, or maybe even going for a swim in Lake Michigan or a run on the Lakefront Trail, there are so many things that you can do and so many attractions to keep you healthy, fit, and live a very active lifestyle when you live in Lakeview. A lot of people dock their boats at Belmont Harbor, so if you're one of those people that would love to have a boat out on Lake Michigan or maybe even rent a boat, Belmont Harbor is a place where you can do that. All right, the fourth pro on the list is you have excellent, I mean excellent public transportation. I think Lakeview is probably one of the best neighborhoods to live in if you're gonna be taking mass transportation, whether it be by train line, which we call the L, or by bus lines here in the city of Chicago. The CTA red, brown, and purple lines connect you to downtown Chicago and beyond. Plus you have multiple bus routes making commuting an absolute breeze. So if you don't have a car and you're looking for a great area to live in Chicago, where you're not gonna spend hours on end every single day commuting to and from work or other things that you wanna do, Lakeview is a great option. All right, and the fifth pro about living in Lakeview, Chicago is you have diverse housing options. Whether you're looking for a high-rise apartment, maybe even a vintage condo, or a charming single-family home, Lakeview has a diverse range of housing options to suit every taste and budget. You'll find a mix of modern developments and historic architecture that adds to the neighborhood's character. So just upon some quick research, your average median household income in Lakeview is $92,000 a year. And so as it relates to living, rental rates for a one-bedroom apartment on average comes out to $18.95 a month, which is actually a 13% increase year over year from the year prior. And all of your two bedrooms on average go for $25.50 a month. So a lot of times I see people bunk up and they actually go get a two-bedroom condo or an apartment so that they can make living a little bit more affordable. On the other end of the spectrum, your average sales price comes out to $422,500 or an average of $282 per square foot. And I'm gonna throw in one bonus pro of living in Lakeview, Chicago, which is the elementary schools that you have to choose from. A few of these schools I'm referencing are the Nettlehorse School, and then Blaine Elementary, as well as Lakeview Elementary. A lot of people flock to these areas with young families because these are great schools to send your kids to. All right, so now that we've talked about some of the great things about living in Lakeview, Chicago, we have to turn the page and talk about some of the cons. So the first con of living in Chicago, or specifically the Lakeview neighborhood of Chicago, is you're gonna have traffic congestion. With its popularity and prime location, Lakeview can get congested, especially during peak hours and the major events. As we talked about before, you have Wrigley Field right in the smack dab of Lakeview. So if there's ever any Cubs games going on, or maybe there's an event such as the Morgan Wallen concert that was just in town, well, it's gonna be an absolute nightmare getting around and finding parking in Lakeview. The second con on the list is you do have a higher cost of living. You know, simple supply and demand. The more people that wanna live in a neighborhood, ultimately it's gonna cost you a little bit more to actually live there. So even though you may have a premium price tag of living in Lakeview, many residents find that the amenities and the quality of life are well worth the investment. Third con on the list, you have limited green space. While Lakeview offers stunning lakefront parks, it does have a slightly limited amount of green spaces compared to some of the other neighborhoods in Chicago. However, the proximity to Lincoln Park, which is actually one of Chicago's largest parks, helps compensate for this. So you can actually, if you're on the southern border of Lakeview, which is Diversey, if you walk probably 15 to 20 minutes south of that, you're gonna be at Lincoln Park, or you're gonna be at the actual park itself and not the neighborhood of Lincoln Park. So at Lincoln Park, you have the Lincoln Park Zoo, you have North Avenue Beach, which is just on the east side of that. So that's a great place that a lot of people flock to for things such as like the Air and Water Show, which is typically during the summer. And you have a lot of different paths for walking, for running. You have intramural fields for dodgeball, for kickball, for softball, soccer. All the different things that you may want to do are going to be right outside your doorstep, but just a little bit more south of you in Lincoln Park itself. So proximity from Lakeview to Lincoln Park in itself is actually a pro, and in this case, it's gonna be the rebuttal for the con. All right, number 4 con on the list is you're gonna have a lot of nightlife noise, specifically if you're on the eastern side of Lakeview in a neighborhood called Boys Town. And it's not to say that everywhere else is going to be super quiet or that Boys Town is particularly loud. However, if you're on the east side of the city, it tends to just be a little bit more active. So you're going to want to consider this if you're thinking about moving to the area. And of course, a vibrant nightlife scene in Lakeview can be a double-edged sword. While it's fantastic to have a variety of options for entertainment, some residents may find that the noise levels on weekends or during special events is a bit higher. So the rule of thumb here is just consider proximity to busy areas, and maybe if you're thinking about something that's a little bit more low-key, you could find an area on the western side of Lakeview, or kind of like the central western side of Lakeview known as the Southport Corridor, where you have a lot of incredible restaurants, shops, boutiques, cafes, bars, gyms, really a lot of different conveniences. But if you find yourself in some of the in streets, either to the west of that or to the east of that, you're gonna find more of that neighborhood tree-lined style streets where you can have that peace and quiet, but you can also be just a stone's throw away from all the action. And last but not least, the 5th con of living in Lakeview, Chicago is overall cost of living is much higher and housing options may be limited, especially in a market like we're in today where there's just no inventory and demand is far outweighing supply, whether you're renting or owning. And our team, as we talked about before, we help people buy and sell in the city of Chicago. Our team is specialists though on the buying and selling. However, if you have any real estate goals whatsoever, feel free to reach out to us. Because of this con, it is very competitive. So you need to make sure you're arming yourselves and you're teaming up with a solid realtor to be able to help navigate the real estate market for all of your for sale or your rental needs so that you can find the best place to call home in Lakeview. So there you have it. Those are your 5 pros and your 5 cons of living in Lakeview, Chicago. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe, and definitely turn on the notifications because we're gonna be releasing more videos like this, doing deep dives into specific neighborhoods in Chicago over the coming weeks. So if you wanna find that information and you wanna find it first before the rest of the population, well, if you're a subscriber on this channel, you're gonna be the first to know. So all that being said, if we can do anything for you, my team and I would be absolutely honored. Feel free to just text the number on the screen and a team member will get in touch with you within 24 hours. So until next time, we'll see you very soon. Peace.